Hello and welcome to the Inside Dish on Lehigh Valley Art Salon, where we explore the culinary arts in and around the greater Lehigh Valley. I'm Mike Drabenstadt, your host for our gastronomic tour of the Lehigh Valley and its amazing food scene. And I'm here on site with Mitzy Cullen from 187 RuePrincipale. Did I say that correctly?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, probably not with the correct French accent.
Well...
And how would you say it?
I would say 187 RuePrincipale.
RuePrincipale? Oh, pretty close. Not so bad. So welcome to the Inside Dish.
Thank you.
Can you give our listeners today an idea of what your restaurant's all about and how it came to be?
Well, I happened to drive past the sign that said space available. I came into the building. This was an old furniture store in Emmaus on Main Street. And I just love the space because it's got 2 levels and beautiful windows and nice, very nice light. And I thought it would be the perfect place for a restaurant. So when thinking about what kind of restaurant was not currently in Emmaus, what came to mind for me, because this was around Christmas time, was a creperie. Every Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, our family eats crepes, and there was no place in this area where we could get crepes. So I thought,
and if they're good for Christmas, they're good for the other 364 days, right?
Crepes are great every single day. So with that in mind, I set about looking for someone who could help me design a kitchen, and I hired a chef to help me with that. And he encouraged me to also do fine dining at dinner time. So we're a little bit of a split personality. During the day, we're a cafe. You're welcome to come in and have a cup of coffee, read your book, stay all day if that's what you'd like to do. We have a very nice menu that we call brunch. So from 8 a.m. every morning, we serve eggs and quiche and crepes, sweet and savory crepes, beautiful sandwiches. My current favorite sandwich is a salmon club, where we smoke some salmon in-house and we serve a triple-decker sandwich with the pickle, and it's just really delicious. So we serve that all day. Then at night, we put the linen on the table and we serve French-inspired dishes.
How would you classify French-inspired? What does that mean?
Well, we have some traditional French items on the menu. For example, we have crepes. We have sweet and savory crepes. We can serve your savory crepe on a traditional buckwheat crepe, which is great if you're trying to avoid gluten. It's not quite as soft as a regular crepe, a white flour crepe, but it is traditionally how a savory crepe is served in France. We are inspired by the French fresh, that we take the freshest things that we can and we make them. And then we also do some traditional French dishes like cassoulet and coq au vin, depending on the time of year. Something else that we do that is French is that we change our menu often. So we have a big change seasonally.
Which makes sense if you're farm to table.
Right, exactly. We cannot get tomatoes in the winter, and we only have a berry crepe for a few weeks in the summertime, and it's just about to end. And in the next week or so, we'll be changing to a peach crepe. And then when the peaches are gone, apple, right? Yeah. So we're inspired by the quality of food in France. We're inspired by the traditional flavors and traditional recipes, but we're not French haute cuisine.
Right, or also when I think people sometimes think of French cuisine, they think of some of those traditional dishes you mentioned, but exquisite preparation, very sauce-driven.
Right.
It sounds like you're taking some welcome modern liberties with that.
Yes, we are, and we don't claim to be French, the heart and soul. We're French-inspired.
How has that French-inspired cuisine evolved over the years in order to have a role in not just the Lehigh Valley but nationwide? Well,
sauce is still very important. If we just put a piece of fish in front of you and there was no sauce, you would be disappointed. I would be disappointed. So we do the basic sauces and we use them and add to them. We have an eggs Benedict, so we have hollandaise. But sometimes now maybe we put a little sriracha in there, or depending on what kinds of other flavor profiles we want to have beyond the traditional French sauces.
Talk about your location in a town here. Certainly there was a time where restaurants were sprouting up in strip malls or on the outskirts of town, and people were leaving our downtowns and leaving the small towns like this. It seems like there's a resurgence, whether it's in Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, and now even Emmaus.
Yes, well, Emmaus has a lot of restaurants. It's a challenge for me for people to see me because I'm kind of in the middle of a residential block, even though this is a commercial building. And also it's hard for me to advertise that we have a giant parking lot in the back. So I think sometimes people drive past and don't see a place to park and maybe keep going. That's a bit of a challenge, but it's really, really nice to be right in town and to be part of the town and to do events. We did a really fun event for the Emmaus Facebook group on Sunday night, Meet Your Neighbors. Mm-hmm. So we opened the doors, everybody came in, had a few beverages, and we had 60 people here. It was great. And that's the kind of thing, if you're in a strip mall or even like the Hamilton Crossings, which is a lovely mall, it's really not part of the neighborhood.
You mentioned the Emmaus Facebook page, and that gets me thinking about the influence social media has had in the last 5 or 10 years on restaurants with review sites like Yelp or TripAdvisor, or even the ability of a restaurant to market itself and share what's going on through social media. Talk a little bit about how you see social media influencing the success of a restaurant.
Well, of course, if we do something wrong, then obviously someone should let us know. Now, as a business owner, I would prefer you let me know personally so that I can fix it and make it so that you're interested in coming again. The people who have dined here, even if we've made mistakes and they've called us out on social media, have generally been pretty generous about it. So I think it's important. We need to know if we're not doing something right. That's really important. But I think social media is really important. So people follow us so they know about our events. We do a food and wine pairing once a month where we choose a region of winemaking. We prepare a menu and our wine salesman pairs that with wines from that particular region. Then he comes in and he knows everything. And he just gives this great speech. He's been to the vineyards. It's fantastic. So social media helps us get the news out about that, and people's friends see that they're following us, and that's really great. And I think it's fun, it's challenging, and it's a lot cheaper than traditional print media.
Oh, certainly. And plus you can certainly target better for people that like you or are influenced by what you're doing. For diners that would come here or anywhere else that have had a questionable experience and they're thinking of going onto social media to give 1 star or 2 stars, what advice would you give that person before they take to the keyboard?
Well, I would say I hope that, if the restaurant did a bad job, certainly let them know. But maybe try to speak to the business owner before you do a 1 star or 2 star. But again, it's your right, your privilege, and that's how it is.
But you also don't open a restaurant and want to have unhappy customers. You're in the hospitality business.
Right, exactly. So it's so much better to just bring it up to me. I can fix it. I can comp you. I can invite you back another time. I can apologize. Because it's certainly, as you say, it's not our intention to give anybody a bad experience.
So, Mitzy, I understand you have somewhat of a different business model here at 187 RuePrincipale. Can you talk about it a little bit?
Sure. We're a no-tipping restaurant, and what that means is that the price that's on the menu is the price that you pay, that we expect you to pay. I pay my waiters and waitresses a flat hourly rate, plus if they also get a portion of sales. So the compensation has already been worked into your bill. And I do that for a couple of reasons, but mostly because if you work as a waiter and you're relying on tips, sometimes you can go home with nothing in your pocket or just a few dollars in your pocket, and then you have to worry, am I going to be able to make my rent or not? So if you know how much money you're going to make when you come in the door, you've got your hourly rate, which is well above the minimum wage for waiters and waitresses. Plus, you'll also probably get a sales bump when you get your paycheck. You know the minimum amount of money you're going to have in your paycheck, and it's much better and easier to budget that way.
But this isn't just because you're a good-hearted person. It's a business decision.
Well, it's a business decision based on the fact that I have worked as a waitress and I know what that's like. And also, we're open a lot of hours, and a lot of those hours we're not that busy. So, after lunch and before dinner, I want to be open in case people want to come in and have a drink or a coffee or something like that. And I can't pay somebody $2.83 to do that.
And $2.83 is the minimum wage or the expected wage for waitstaff.
That's correct.
And a lot of people don't know that.
That's correct. Yep. So that's why I do it. And sometimes it's a little bit difficult because people look at our menu prices and think, oh, that's expensive. Well, the tip has already been included. So you can, that's it. That's how much you pay.
Well, and a tip at a nice restaurant, considering the service is good, is usually around 20%.
That's correct.
And with the type of people I'm sure you're getting in, the service is usually excellent.
We do our best.
Talk a little bit about wine selection, especially with French food.
Well, we try to get the right heaviness and sweetness and dryness to balance our menu. So we have people here who know a lot about wine, and then we also use the resource of our wine salesmen to help us as well. So they understand our food and they can recommend the right wines, and we hope to recommend the right wine to you for
just
your
to
meal.
complement the dish
Exactly.
correctly. And
yes.
French wines, but also wines
We have
from...
French wines, but we also have wines from other places as well. We have a local wine. We have Maple Springs Winery from just up the hill on South Mountain.
Which makes sense as
Yes.
a farm-to-table restaurant.
Right.
Well, Mitzy, thanks for joining us on The Inside Dish.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
I am Mike Dravenstadt, and this is The Inside Dish on Lehigh Valley Art Salon.